All right, so we're back here with another episode of The American Dream. And on today's show, we will be talking about real estate and renovation. And we have an all-star lineup set for you today to talk about the topic. To start, we have Victoria Dowling, who is Vice President of Residential Lending with Cross Country Mortgage. Victoria, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
I know you've helped many, many families over the years. We also have Sarah Pritchard, who is a local realtor with Snyder and Pritchard Homes and is also actually married into a builder family. So she's been busy in the market selling homes, but also knows the renovation world very well. So Sarah, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And we also have Kara Golden with Tiger Home Inspections. Kara, I know your family has been in the home inspection business for about 30 years, so tons of experience, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jay.
So guys, let's talk about real estate and renovation. Victoria, I'm going to start with you. A lot of people watch the Property Brothers, right? It's the hot show. Everyone sees the excitement of finding a home, getting into it, and doing some renovations. Tell us a little bit about maybe some market statistics relative to renovation, and also a little bit about the products that exist out there.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head there, Jay. There are so many programs out there that show people the possibilities and what they can do when they're renovating a home. And what most people don't realize is you don't have to have $100,000 laying around to do that. You can use a renovation loan to purchase and renovate a property with a really low down payment. We can go as low as 3% down. So there are some extremely affordable options to help people get into that house that's in the right neighborhood, but maybe not the perfect kitchen, or maybe it needs an addition. In Connecticut specifically, 84% of the homes are 30 years or older, and 60% of the homes are at least 50 years or older. So you start to think about what kinds of things might need to be upgraded in a home like that. There's just a lot of opportunity to renovate, to improve, to make that home really something that's going to last for years to come and take care of those big ticket items right up front.
So you touched on two things. One is a common misconception about lending and renovation lending, which is that people need to have 20% down. And even with a renovation loan, they don't need to have 20% down. And then the second thing you touched on was really the fact that we have an aging home base, right, that can use some renovation. So great time to turn to Sarah here, because Sarah is in and out of homes all day long. I mean, Sarah, what do you see that home buyers today are looking for? And do you see the inventory that Victoria is referring to that can use, rehab, refresh?
Absolutely. So what I love to do with my home buyers is sell them a vision. So most of the time when they walk into a house, they tell me they want everything to be move-in ready. But in today's marketplace, that's not really possible. So what we like to do is walk them through a house and tell them of the possibilities that they can do to make the house their own. Whether it's opening up a wall, putting in the brand new kitchen, updating the bathroom, or even some inspection items like putting in the new mechanicals. Being able to let them know that they don't need to have that money in their pocket to do the work, and that they can get a mortgage and roll it into their mortgage is huge. And it opens up the doors literally to different homes that they wouldn't have entertained in the first place.
Right, homes that they may have passed over. And I assume with a lot of family dinners with your family, your husband and his family, you have a lot of ideas that you can bring to the table to these buyers on what they can do. And in fact, I know you've helped one of my personal family members go through the renovation process, and they turned a home into something amazing with the help of you guys. So that's awesome.
Yes, it was absolutely, it's definitely amazing. We have a lot of family dinners probably every day where at least Johnny and I are talking about different renovation opportunities. I know he has worked for a number of other agents that I work closely with, and he's helped their clients do renovations on their house and renovation loans. And then we do work with other builders as well. So whatever works for the clientele.
Yeah, so it's helping the client create the home of their dreams and kind of getting to where they want to be.
Exactly.
So, Kara, why would I have a home inspector on a show about renovation lending? The audience may be asking, but we know that you guys are a very integral part of our process on the renovation loan side of it, but you're also there for the client, for checks and balances, maybe even for the contractor as well. So tell a little bit about Tiger and kind of how you guys assist in this process.
Sure. Thanks, Jay. So at Tiger, we have licensed home inspectors that also have different specialties. And George Turner has one of those specialties as a certified HUD consultant. And the HUD consultant is often required through this renovation loan process. But I think one of the best parts is when George does the initial home inspection for the client, he can also have these conversations. He can also be performing the initial property assessment that's required for many of these renovation loans. But most importantly, he can have that consultative conversation about what their desires are to make this house into their dream home, and also talk to them about what some of those requirements might be if it's HUD property minimum standards aren't being met by what he's finding in the home. So he can have all of those conversations right there at that initial visit. And then from there, if they can decide this is the loan that they want to move forward with and the house, he can start to create those lists, and those clients are really going to come up with two different lists. There's going to be a list of mandatory items, as Sarah mentioned, that need to be upgraded to meet HUD minimum property standards. So that could be possibly a boiler that's in the house that doesn't have a minimum of 2 years life left on it. That would be a required upgrade. Or then there's going to be their desired list. And that might be a few of the things that Victoria mentioned also. They may want to add a garage or a master suite, or the bathroom might be dated and tired and they just want to renovate it, make it beautiful. So those are the conversations that start, and they can start at the initial home inspection, or those can be two separate appointments as well, depending on how the client's flowing through the process. And then once those lists are created, we start working with the client to move forward with the analysis and also putting together a work write-up package. So what the next step for them is to choose a contractor to work with. And I'm sure working with an experienced realtor like Sarah, she has some recommendations she could make for HUD qualified contractors. And so once they've chosen their contractor, everybody works together as a team to put together that list. And making sure the numbers work for Victoria and Cross Country Mortgage, and also for the client, and then they can move forward with the project.
Well, you're absolutely right. The team is really super important. And if you don't have the right players on the team, you're not going to have the success that you need. So you mentioned amenities, you mentioned the collaboration with like the team at Cross Country Mortgage and the renovation department. Victoria, comment on a few amenities such as like pools, right? And then also, if you wouldn't mind, on top of amenities, kind of tie in what you're seeing on value and valuation. Of course, it's not one set number across the board, but people are putting money into their homes, and what are you guys seeing on the end result when the property is done?
Yeah. So first, to talk about renovations that are allowed, everyone knows about the 203K, but we have other renovation loans as well. So we have Fannie Mae Home Style, we have Freddie Choice. So we have some conventional options for our clients. And that means that this is opened up to not just owner occupied properties, but also single family investment properties and second homes. And that also gives us more flexibility in what the borrower can do. So absolutely, you can include minimum property standards and repairs that need to be done to the home. But we're seeing a lot of people do in-ground pools right now using our conventional renovation loans. And we're getting a lot of requests right now for renovation refinances involving adding an addition to the home to maybe make a master suite or make a great room larger. We also see a lot of requests to make properties open concept. And really, when we're looking at the value that we get, we are appraising the property as if all that work in the HUD inspection has already been completed. That's how we're able to lend more than what they're buying it for, because we're lending against that future value. And very rarely does that come in lower than what the borrower is planning to do. Obviously, it's borrower specific. It depends on the market and what they're doing, but we're seeing a lot of people really build that equity in the property and make that home exactly what they want it to be. So it's a win-win across the board.
The renovation programs are really amazing. And I think the biggest thing is misconception from people or them feeling overwhelmed. And I know that the team here on the panel helps them get through that. So Kara, I'm going to kind of circle back to you. A project is moving along and George is still involved, right? He kind of helps with the checks and balances or maybe any kind of hiccups that come as the process moves on. And he's there to kind of help the client and help the contractor or builder. So can you just, comment on that a little bit as we kind of close this segment out here on how you guys stay part of the process the entire way.
Sure. So after the closing happens, that's when the fun part starts, the construction. And George, it really is a liaison between the lender, the client, and also the contractor to make sure that the work is done properly and in a timely manner. So with these loans, most of the work, usually the work has to begin within 30 days, and they have 6 months to complete the projects. And it's his job to make sure that all happens on time. He does periodic inspections called draw inspections, and that's how the contractor gets paid. So each phase of the work is done. He goes out, does an inspection, and then the contractor gets paid and they can move on to the next phase of the work. So there's a very specific schedule set forth at the beginning of the project, and keeps everybody, the project moving forward. And then we can get to the end of the project. There's a final draw inspection, and then the contractor gets their final payments done. And they're done with the work.
All right, Sarah, let's wrap it up with you. So a client meets with Victoria, they meet with the Tiger Group, they put their transaction together, you help them find the home, and typically you're the one who will kind of see the end result, go visit the clients, right? You're local, you're driving around. What is the excitement level that you see? I mean, the smiles on faces and just creating what they've been wanting to create maybe their whole life. Tell us a little bit about that feeling and kind of how that, plays out, on your end.
We actually just finished up a project recently, and George was the inspector who was working closely with the bank, and the buyers couldn't be more thrilled. So they just completed the project. They moved in. They're so excited to be there. We found out the great news that they're expecting their first child. Wow. So we love seeing the start to finish of the project, but how the families evolved during the projects as well. So we couldn't be luckier to see that our clients are getting exactly what they want.
Excellent. That's great. So I'm going to wrap this up, and I don't know about you guys, the rest of you guys on the panel, but this is one of those stories that Sarah just mentioned right there, right? You go into it, you have misconceptions. You may be a little bit stuck on, wow, this is too much for me to take on, right? But with the help of someone like Victoria and Kara and Sarah, we can really put smiles on families that want to create a home of their dreams. So I really appreciate you guys being on the all-star panel to talk about real estate and renovation. So thank you so much. Really appreciate your partnership and support, and appreciate you being on today.
Thank you for having us.